Welcome back, family. Today we're diving into a story that's not just groundbreaking, it's revolutionary. Imagine a united Africa where nations no longer wait for approval to build their futures. Imagine a bank funded entirely by Africans, for Africans, with gold, cash, and ambition ready to fuel progress. This isn't a dream, it's reality. Let's explore how three nations are rewriting history. For decades, African nations were told to wait. Wait for loans, wait for aid, wait for approval from institutions thousands of miles away. But in a bold move, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger decided to stop waiting. In 2023, these nations launched the Confederate Bank for Investment and Development, an $833 million institution fully funded by African capital. No loans, no external oversight. Just a shared vision of self-reliance. This bank isn't just a financial entity. It's a declaration of independence. For the first time, African nations are financing projects on their own terms, free from conditions imposed by foreign entities. The bank's 833 million starting capital, 500 billion CFA francs, signals a seismic shift. Africa is no longer asking for permission to grow. Historically, Africa's economic policies were shaped by institutions that prioritized foreign interests over local needs. Structural adjustment programs often stripped subsidies, privatized industries, and prioritized debt repayment over development. The Confederate Bank flips this script. Here's what makes it revolutionary. Sovereignty comes first. The bank answers only to African stakeholders. No external audits, no austerity mandates. Infrastructure is being built to connect nations internally. New railways link Niger's uranium mines to Mali's factories and Burkina Faso's trade hubs, ensuring value chains stay within Africa. Energy independence is finally within reach, with solar farms powering rural clinics and schools, ending reliance on imported fuel. An agricultural revolution is underway, with processing plants for crops like tomatoes and cotton, meaning Africa no longer exports raw materials only to import finished goods. This isn't theory. It's steel, sweat, and solar panels. It's roads being paved, lights turning on, and farmers feeding their communities without intermediaries. The bank's impact is tangible. A regional airline network is in development, connecting capitals directly without layovers in Europe, a symbolic and practical end to colonial-era logistics. Digital payment systems bypassing the CFA franc and dollar are slashing transaction fees, keeping wealth circulating locally. Even more groundbreaking are plans for a new currency backed by gold, uranium, and lithium, which could redefine Africa's financial clout on the global stage. Before we go further, a huge thank you to our incredible community. Your support fuels this channel. If you're new here, hit subscribe and join thousands of others celebrating Africa's untold stories. Let's keep growing together. The Confederate Bank's quiet launch speaks volumes. Unlike past initiatives drowned in bureaucracy, this institution acts. While other organizations debate, the bank builds. Its success exposes a hard truth. Dependency was never inevitable. It was engineered. For decades, the CFA franc, pegged to the euro and printed abroad, drained Africa's financial autonomy. The bank's currency plans aim to cut this last colonial tether, replacing it with a system rooted in Africa's mineral wealth. Guinea, Chad, and others are already eyeing this model. Why? Because it proves sanctions and isolation can't break unity. When aid was cut, these nations didn't collapse. They innovated. They turned sanctions into strength, proving collaboration trumps charity. Pooled resources build railways. Begging builds debt. Local solutions matter. Solar grids designed by Africans for Africans outlast foreign-funded projects that often ignore community needs. The bank's impact transcends economics. It's reshaping psychology. For generations, development meant foreign approval. Now it means self-definition. Every rail track laid without loans, every megawatt generated without imports, whispers, "We are enough." This shift is seismic. It's not just about money, it's about dignity. For too long, the narrative framed Africa as a continent perpetually catching up. The Confederate Bank rejects that. It declares Africa is already here, already capable, already building. Consider the tomato farmer in Burkina Faso. For years, they exported tomatoes at rock-bottom prices, only to buy back processed paste from Europe at a markup. The bank's investment in local processing plants changes everything. Now, that farmer's harvest feeds Burkinabe families, creates jobs, and keeps profits on African soil. Similarly, Mali's cotton, once shipped raw to foreign mills, is now being spun into fabric domestically, fueling textile industries and reducing reliance on imports. These aren't isolated wins. They're blueprints for continental transformation. The bank's architects understand that true sovereignty isn't just political, it's economic. By controlling credit, trade, and currency, nations reclaim their futures. Take the CFA franc. African nations using this currency must store half their foreign reserves in France, paying for the privilege of using a currency they don't control. The Confederate Bank's proposed alternative, a resource-backed currency, turns this humiliation into strength. Gold, uranium, and lithium reserves, Africa holds 30% of the world's mineral wealth, would underpin the new currency, making it resilient to global market whims. This isn't just a financial tool, it's a geopolitical statement. Critics argue such a bank risks isolation, but Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger have turned isolation into innovation. Cut off from traditional aid, they've built infrastructure faster than donor-dependent peers. Sanctions forced creativity. Local engineers redesigned projects to use affordable materials, communities mobilized labor, and governments prioritized needs over diplomatic appeasement. The result? A railway connecting Agadez to Bamako, built in months, not years. Rural clinics powered by solar energy, bypassing costly fuel imports. These achievements aren't just technical, they're psychological victories. The bank also challenges a toxic myth that Africa lacks expertise. For decades, development projects relied on foreign consultants charging exorbitant fees for solutions often irrelevant to local contexts. The Confederate Bank flips this. Malian engineers design bridges suited to Sahelian climates. Burkinabe agronomists lead soil revitalization programs. Nigerian economists structure interest-free loans for small businesses. This isn't just cost-effective, it's empowering. It proves Africa's greatest resource isn't minerals, it's people. Education is another frontier. The bank funds vocational schools teaching renewable energy installation, sustainable farming, and digital finance, skills aligned with Africa's priorities. Gone are the days of graduates trained for jobs that don't exist. Now, students learn to build what their communities need. A young woman in Niger can master solar panel maintenance, electrifying her village. A Malian teen studies agro-processing, turning his family's millet harvest into packaged goods. This is education as liberation. The bank's ripple effects are global. By creating a currency backed by minerals critical to tech industries, Africa positions itself as a partner, not a supplier. Imagine a future where iPhones or electric cars require transactions in this new African currency. Suddenly, the continent isn't just a source of raw materials. It's a market that can't be ignored. This shifts power dynamics, forcing multinationals to engage Africa on equal terms. Yet the bank's greatest triumph is intangible: hope. For decades, young Africans fled instability, risking deserts and seas for a chance abroad. Now, they're seeing roads built, factories humming, and currencies rising, all without foreign saviors. This isn't just development, it's a homecoming. A Senegalese engineer in Paris hears of the bank and returns to Dakar, eager to contribute. A Nigerian entrepreneur pivots from exporting crude oil to investing in solar startups. The diaspora is reimagining its role, not as escapees but as nation builders. This isn't to romanticize the challenge. Building a bank from scratch in a region facing terrorism, climate shocks, and political transitions is daunting. But the alternative, perpetual dependency, is untenable. The bank's founders know this. They've chosen to risk failure over guaranteed stagnation, and their courage is contagious. What's next? The bank's model is spreading. Guinea's president recently called it the future we've prayed for. Chad's youth-led protests demand a break from the CFA Franc. Even nations once wary of defying traditional allies are rethinking alliances. The African Union, long criticized for bureaucracy, now faces pressure to emulate the bank's agility. This isn't just a financial institution, it's a movement. So, what do you think? Should other African nations join this bank? Could annual contributions from member states fund continent-wide projects, from Lagos to Nairobi? Imagine a pan-African high-speed rail network, a unified digital currency, or a satellite program monitoring climate change, all funded by Africans for Africans. The possibilities are limitless. This isn't just Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger's victory, it's Africa's awakening. If you believe in self-determination, hit like, share this video, and subscribe. Together, let's amplify stories that inspire a continent. Don't forget to hit the bell icon to stay updated. What steps should African nations take next? Share your thoughts below. Until next time, keep believing in the power of unity.